Ghost stories, or anything talking about jinn or magic. I think many of people are interested about this topic. We hear from some people stories prove that the ghosts are true and they are firm believer in them. We see other people are unbeliever in ghosts and disregard them. Actually, when I have the ghost story lecture, I feel it was a very interesting one. We all discuss and share our experience in this issue. I conclude from our discussion that the disbelievers doesn't believe in jinn. Against for that, the believers are firm believer in jinn because the jinn are mentioned in Holy Quran. And because I always didn't remember the smart things at the right times, so I forgot to tell my colleagues this story which happened to me when I was teenage. And I'd like to say, at this age only, I thought that it was a ghost story. But the judge is for you, so let's start my story. I'll not ask you to turn off the lights, but I'm playing a soundtrack to get you in the mood. So hold on your seats. I live in a big house in 10th of Ramadan city. We have finished the construction, our home. Only my family live in this house. Me and my father and my 3 brothers. And because we are in a wild town and there is no many of people live in our avenue, so my dad decided to buy a guard dog. When we was in the pet shop, I seek my dad to buy a white small dog. It was not a guard dog, it was a griffon dog. Finally, my dad surrenders and bought it with the other dogs. But the only condition for my dad, that the dog never get in the apartment, because they are rotten and we are praying. And the only reason we can have a dog, that we need them to gardening, so they will be all the time in the garden. I loved that dog, and I thought that it was the best gift I ever have since we came here. After several weeks, another day at afternoon, my dad was in the garden and my brothers was outdoor. I went to my room to have a peace. Then I have a dream. I saw my griffon dog was sleeping on my bed. I thought it was true. I wonder how it got into the apartment and how it got into my room and on my bed. Weird. I tried to get him out of my bed. Then a strange thing happened. Suddenly, I have seen his eyes turned in evil red, like I saw the Satan. I was scared, and I started screaming. Then I got up from the dream. But what happened was stranger. I have noticed that there is a shadow running quickly towards the door, like somebody feels that I will get up from sleep and start running before I see him. I feel the shadow and see the other door closing. I didn't afraid. I ran quickly. I must put an end to this farce. I didn't saw anybody in the apartment and all the doors was totally closed. I went to the garden. I saw my father was sitting there enjoying his silence. I asked him if he was upstairs, and my look was horrible. He said no, then asked to explain. He was worried about me. I told him what I saw, and then I started crying. My father read al-Mawazzatain on me, and he went upstairs to prove that everything is fine, and it was just a nightmare. After that, my father kept advising me to read a lot of Quran and pray before sleep, to kick these thoughts out of my mind, and to not be afraid from our new home. And about the dog, it died in a car accident. When it died, I said to myself, maybe it's good for me, and maybe it was a haunted dog. That was at my teenage. You know this age sometimes give the impression of things more than normal size. But when I get older and remember this story, I smile and then ask myself, does that dog really a haunted dog, or it just was a nightmare? Anyway, What I saw, even it was true or just a fantasy, I didn't saw anything weird in my home again, apart from snakes and scorpions and foxes. Your smile's still there, I'm sure. But what can we do? I have told you before, we live in a desert town. As long as we are talking about the ghost stories, let me tell you about a place in Cairo which considered the most famous place have got stories and rumors about ghosts. It's of course Baron's Palace in Heliopolis. Baron's Palace occupied the first place in rumors and ghost stories in Egypt, maybe because it was deserted since long time before the repair operation. Maybe people helped to create fantasy stories about the palace because of the miserable life of the Baron and his unhappiest life with his sister and his daughter Mariam, and his tough heart. Let's find more about this palace. The Baron Mba was born with lameness in his leg, and he infected with epilepsy. As has been said, that there is a room called the Enchanted Room. The Baron deprived anyone to enter this room, even his daughter Mariam and his sister Helena. There is other reason leading to increased ambiguity of the palace. His sister Helena fell from the balcony and she died. As has been said, the Helena's soul got mad from her brother because he didn't save her quickly, and she died, and the palace no longer turning round from this accident. People said that they heard voices for Helena after her death, fighting with her brother Baron, and other times she talks with her nephew Marian in kindly way. Let's also find more about Mariam, Baron's daughter. Mariam have got the polymyelitis after birth, and also she have got psychological case as a result for the tough treatment of her father. Other day they found her laying on her face in one of the tunnels of the palace, and she was dead, and no one knew the reason for her death. All of this, whether fact or figment from imagination of some people, it was a reason to clear up a lot of stories that give you all the impression that if you visit the Baron Palace, and of course at night, you may ask how many ghosts I'm going to see. Also, it was a good reason to Satan's slaves to practice their rotten customs in the palace before the repair operation. Also, it was a tempting place for many of horror producers, where the Ministry of Culture has received a lot of offers from foreign horror producers to shoot horror films such as Dracula and Vampire. And thanks God that the ministry has refused these offers, because from my opinion, the horror movies are a sick imagination. I think our journey for ghost stories may close to the end, and our time is running, but I want to ask you a question. What are you going to do if you met a ghost? About me, if I met a ghost, I might ask him a question. Does all ghosts speak all the languages, or they are species, such as mankind, speak different languages? Or did they learn the language of the people whom live with? What I want to say in the end, that never be afraid or shake from a ghost. You are the strongest, and they know that clearly. That was my project in pre-intermediate. See you in other project and other story, not necessarily to be about ghosts. I hope you enjoy it. My name is Sosan Salim, and bye now.